Many of them will be on IEPs, many on 504s. And it's really challenging to differentiate for every single student's learning profile in the classroom. Not impossible, but then we look to kind of principles of universal design for learning.
Yep.
So my favorite analogy, if you're not familiar with UDL out there, and a lot of people probably are, is okay, let's date ourselves, Sheldon. Are you old enough to remember when suitcases didn't have wheels? You had to pick them up.
Yeah, so you had to carry them.
How was that? Was that a good experience for you?
Not as a kid. No, definitely appreciate the wheels.
Right? Okay, so yes, I had a strawberry shortcake one that you lug around or whatever. So someone invented the wheels. Now, do you know that it was originally invented so that people who were disabled and couldn't bear weight and the elderly could lift their bags. But then, fun fact, it works for everyone, so everyone's using it. So what is the wheelie bag solution for all these complex learners? Well, I'm going to tell you that, do you use like the MTSS pyramid or tier 0, 1, 2, and 3 for your academics or anything
Something
like that?
Similar. Yeah, in a sense, not necessarily as formative, but yes, we do have different tiers that we do. We have an interventionist that's at our school that does a lot of the support for students that might need a little bit more of that tier 3 support.
Yeah. So we're looking at that pyramid. We all love the pyramid in every presentation about supporting kids and interventions. So we look at tier 1, which is those universal strategies. What helps all kids? And I always look as a school psychologist and as a mom who parented in the pandemic. So we all know what it's like when kids are stressed out. How well does that go for learning? When we're all stressed out, we are in brainstem. We're in fight, flight, freeze. And then we're not in our frontal lobe where all that great thinking can occur. So anxiety is on the rise in all of our students and all humans right now. And so we're in this perpetual fight, flight, freeze. What does fight, flight, freeze look like for students? Well, fight looks like exactly what you think of: arguing and refusing to do stuff and talking back and etc. Or sometimes even, tipping over chairs and things. And then freeze looks like shutting down. It's the hoodie, right? That's a stress reaction. So when we see kids who are in fight or flight, what it looks like is acting out or shutting down. Now, you're not going to be able to implement the coolest reading or math program or curricula on the planet if your kid's in brainstem. So I propose that like tier 1 needs to really double down, especially in this time period, on emotional regulation and executive functioning. For those of you new to the term executive functioning, these are all of those great planning skills in your brain. I'm pointing up here because it's the frontal lobe. We're planning, organizing, starting tasks. I think you've had episodes on executive functioning for your listeners. And really what it is like the boss in your brain. Okay, the boss is like, hey, don't play Fortnite all night. Maybe do your homework because there's a reward at the end. And it's the fact that I get to get graduation credits, or my mom's not mad at me, or my teacher's proud of me. But they go together, and that's really needs to be at the tier 1 level. So a lot of times I work with teachers like, that's the counselor's job. That's the school psych's job. That's the special ed teacher's job. I don't teach executive functioning. I don't teach, emotional regulation. Like, I'm a math teacher. But the thing is, once you unpack it, Sheldon, teachers are already doing this. They just don't know they are. And that's where PD can come in. What are you already doing, and how could you fold more in your day, not as an add on, like a new lesson, but in your curriculum? What are those tier 1 interventions? And that's what's so exciting when I work with teachers and mental health providers across the country, is really doing a universal design for learning for what are classrooms where kids feel safe, seen, heard, listened to. That sets the stage for the academic growth.
Thank you for that. And so what I'm hearing is we're already doing a lot of the stuff. What do you mean by that? I guess is the question. What are teachers doing that they probably don't know that they're doing already?
Well, a couple of things. So in the emotional regulation realm, I like to say that teachers have an opportunity. Your emotional regulation yourself is actually a tier 1 intervention. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. So think teachers out there, a day where you were feeling great. You had a great restful weekend. You had the coolest lesson plan, planned, and you couldn't wait. You were excited. You get there and you're like, hey kids, we're going to learn about this today. We're going to learn about kinetic energy. And you bring that joy and excitement, and your kids pick up on it. Yeah. Now, conversely, think of a day where you had a horrible sleep, your kids were acting up, and like you're having a hard time, your mom's sick, and maybe you spilled coffee on your shirt that and like you're running late, and why so much traffic, and you're just not in a good mood. You come to class and you're like, okay, and one kid does a little thing and you're a little bit on edge, and then that sets the tone. So we know from the neuroscience, and this is where I love to geek out. Here's a 2-minute neuroscience lesson for
Go for it.
Have you heard of mirror neurons?
No, go for it. I'm listening.
Okay. So human emotions are contagious. You thought COVID was contagious? Emotions are contagious, meaning within 0.33 milliseconds of being in the same room with another human, you subconsciously are able to detect how they're feeling. It's the reason why when you walk into a parent-teacher conference, you're like, something funky in here. No one said anything, right? But you can feel it.
Right.
And then in another about 0.33 milliseconds, you subconsciously try to match that other person's emotions. So our kids are constantly mirror neuroning each other, and constantly our moods set the tone for our classroom. Okay. So when our kids, we can be, and I love this analogy, you can be either the thermostat or the thermometer in your classroom. Okay. So if you are, the thermometer, when your kids are acting up, you're like, your nervous system's up. When your kids are like really low and unenergetic, you're like, okay, God, why is this the longest class period of my life? Instead, if you're, the thermostat, you're like, I'm a cool 68, hey. Then when your kids are acting up, you bringing them down with your calm. And when your kids are low, you're bringing them up with your energy. So this actually is something teachers do all day long and they don't know it. So the first step is awareness. If you're aware that you're having a bad day or you're stressed out, that's when you can tap into like in the moment sort of mindfulness and just like take a breath, or even just be honest with your students. This is the easiest, cheapest intervention there is. Class, have you ever had a bad day? Well, Dr. Rebecca just spilled all over her favorite blouse. I was late to work. The copier didn't work. My Google Drive deleted itself. I don't know. And I'm feeling really dysregulated. You know what that means? That means that I feel off. I feel grouchy. Has anyone ever felt grouchy? When's the time you felt grouchy? Yeah. What do you guys do when you're feeling grouchy? Because I need a reboot here, friends. Oh, I take a break. I listen to music. Great. You know what? Let's do a dance party. Like, let's just like play a song and reboot. Or like, let's just go outside for a second, do deep breathing, whatever. And guess what happens, Sheldon? You get to be the living lesson plan for your kids. You are demonstrating, and we talk about modeling all the time. You're modeling for your kids what to do when you're in brainstem.
Yeah.
And how to get back in the frontal lobe. You call it out. It costs $0.
$0. And we're like,
it's free 99.
So not only are we exhibiting this, taking care of ourselves, but then we're also showing our students how to help support themselves as well. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, all right. So what I heard initially early on in the conversation was it's not necessarily about the lesson that you're providing, like the content that you created, the lesson plan, but it's more of the energy or how you present the lesson plan when it comes to like maybe engagement or even support. Is that kind of where I heard things?